multiple links between the past and the present. Latin lets us understand, and that's what Latin is to me and to the 60 students in the Latin program at Clements. A way to understand the complexities of our fast-paced world, one that seems to be moving farther and farther into the future, but is still converging with its past. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, Eric. I can't read your last name, I apologize.
I'm actually Edward.
Okay.
Eric's right here.
Okay, I'm sorry. I've got requests I'm working through here, so they were just working through them. So, Edward, can you please state your last name?
Edward Zhang.
Edward Zhang. Thank you, sir. You'll have 3 minutes. Go for it.
Good evening. Before I begin, I'd like to extend my gratitude to the board, administrators, and Mr. Yaffe for their notable support and vision in helping maintain Latin in Clements. As some of you may already know, many newer students are beginning to pursue STEM pathways for the future. In order to truly support this pattern of interest, we must not only promote our STEM classes like biology, physics, and chemistry, we must also look at classes that have the capability of supporting this new generation of STEM students. With this capacity not only to develop students' STEM skills, but also the soft skills that these students need to truly realize their potential, Latin is a perfect class to fill this role. My primary reason for taking Latin in high school was to pursue my childhood dream of becoming a doctor, and the seemingly endless connections between my knowledge of Latin and my biology class are evidence as to the benefits that Latin has brought to my prospective career in science. One distinct connection I remember making between Latin and my bio class was during one of our later tests over the human anatomy. With a large section of the test over the names of bones and muscles on the human body, which are largely taken straight from Latin, I breezed through the section of the test. Countless terms like this one, including but not limited to aqueous, unicellular, bilayer, exoskeleton, hominid, and many more, prove the deep influence of Latin, or that Latin has had on biology. Taking another step back, we can see how much classical languages like Greek and Latin have shaped the science that we know and love today. However, for me, as important or as integral Latin may be to my prospective career in medicine, I believe that the greatest benefit that taking Latin has brought to me is not simply an advantage in learning terminology and medical jargon, but rather a greater confidence in my own future. Laying a path towards achieving my goals, with the knowledge of Latin as a major stepping stone in doing so, instills a sense of stability in my plans for the future, and helps me deal with any insecurities or uncertainties that may come along the way. It is because of Latin that I'm now committed to pursuing a degree in neuroscience and going to medical school, and it is because of Latin that I believe many students will do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here. Who's next? Are you Claire?
I am, yes.
All right. Process of elimination here. Thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, ma'am.
When I first saw the course Latin in the course selection sheet, my initial reaction was, how boring. But ironically, and out of a whim, I took Latin for my foreign language course because it sounded unique. And little did I know I would end up taking 4 years of Latin in high school and maybe even more in college. So here are the things that I've learned from the almost 4 years of Latin that I have taken. Like my peers, through my studies in the Latin language, Roman history, and Greco-Roman culture, I cannot help but find connections to the modern era. Because of how interconnected the Roman culture is with modern America and even the rest of the world, the Latin program at Clements has helped me grow as both an academic scholar and a global citizen. I have found a new appreciation of the U.S. Republican government after studying the governing structure of the Roman Republic. Through the pioneering the idea of elected officials into Senate, the civilization was one of the first to set equality of all before the law, a notion that set modern-day ideals of fairness and opportunity. Baron Montesquieu's doctrine of the separation of political powers, which was used in the creation of the U.S. Constitution, was in fact influenced by the Roman Republic. And so were the ideas of elected officials, checks and balances, quorum requirements, vetoes, term limits, impeachments, etc. And the common law and civil law legal systems used in almost all countries in the world are also having their roots in ancient Rome. Moreover, the Romans established the activity of a structured public civil discourse. In essence, the modern form of debate wouldn't exist if it were not have been the Romans who first practiced it. I'm also part of the Clements Speech and Debate team, and my education in Latin has enhanced my performance as a debater. For example, I had to memorize Cicero's speeches for Latin oratory competitions, and studying Cicero has opened my eyes to the art of speech and allowed me to implement the Ciceronian rhetoric principles into my own speeches in debate competitions. Additionally, the Latin language helped me understand another essential subject, English. Western literature is teeming with allusions to the ancient world. Learning about Greco-Roman mythology in Latin has helped me identify such references. My experiences inside and outside of my English class has thus amplified, as analyzing poetry and other literary works became that much easier to accomplish at a deeper level. Keying into details like these
30
Greco-Roman allusions has helped me better understand literature. In fact, in my own writings, I have included classical examples like Apollo, Dionysus, and Icarus. Overall, being a part of the Latin program was the best decision I've made in my high school career. From the bonds I secured with my classmates and my teacher, Mr. Brown, to the scholastic opportunities that Latin has given me, I have found myself endeared by the seemingly boring and dead language at first, but in actuality is swarming with life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Eric, thank you for being here.
On the first day of school, my economics teacher asked us a question. It wasn't about scarcity, it wasn't about supply and demand, it wasn't even about economics. It was simple. How many of you are here today, here for the rest of the year, to learn economics? Half of the hands in the room went up. Here to learn for the sole purpose of learning economics, he added, not because of the plus 10 on your GPA or because you've always taken AP classes. The hands went down, save 2. I imagine this conversation happens in classrooms in not just Clements, but across the district as a whole. Yet, despite the proliferation of these talks, each with the exact same outcome, if the questions were to be posed in one of my classes, the response would assuredly be different. In a school renowned for its cutthroat competition, Latin serves as a haven for me. In that room, the pressure to outperform my peers is removed, instead replaced with a relaxed atmosphere, one that encourages us to grow together towards a common understanding. Every single day when I walk into fourth period, I don't ask myself how I can bring up my grade one more point or how I can maximize my score while reducing the amount of work I have to do. I ask myself how I might be able to apply the lessons learned from translating the Aeneid that day to my own life, or how Caesar's portrayal of Vercingetorix might vary with modern French representations of him in artwork we study in other classes. Latin doesn't force us to push for every single point higher on the grading scale, but rather encourages us to push for every single shred of knowledge we can get. And as a result, we don't enter Latin every day for a grade, but rather for the learning that ensues. I take Latin, we take Latin, not for the grade, but for the education. I truly believe that unlike any other language, like any other class, we don't simply strive to know Latin, we strive to understand it. But the walls of the classroom don't serve as the boundaries for this united passion for the classics we share. Outside rests a community of dedicated Latinists, Hellenists, and classicists connected in a network throughout Texas, the United States, and the world that share and spread the exact same values that our Latin program is based upon. Some of the most influential people in my life have been introduced to me through Latin, and I hope that my experiences with them and with the language will be something that the generations to come here in FBISD will be able to share. While people may claim that Latin is a dead language today, its influence on us must not be understated. As you've already seen, the impact that it's had on our contemporary art, government, languages, and sciences is immense, and the things we mentioned today only cover a sliver of the spectrum that Latin affects. In addition to this, though, Latin lives on within us, the students, and the genuine community that has been crafted around it. Before I end tonight, I would like to again extend our gratitudes to Dr. Dupree, the FBISD board members, the administrators, Mr. Brown, and Mr. Yaffe for their continued support for the Latin program that means so much to us and their allowance for our speeches tonight. Ad meliora, towards better things. Thank you. And
Thank you for being here.
A thank you card, I guess.
Okay, you can, there you go.
She was the closest.
All right. Thank you very much. And is that everybody, or do we have one more Amy? That's everybody. Thank you very much for being here. We are going to take a brief 5-minute break. We're going to get back here at 7:15. We will take a break. We'll see you at 7:15. Thank you.